What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 4040 Vision podcast. I am your host, Khaled Abdallah, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Sulman Huck. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yo, what's going on, man?
Not much. So we're going to do something a little different today. Instead of sports history, we're going to be doing some sports predictions in the form of the 2024 NFL Draft, just the first round. We're going to be doing a mock. We're going to do it snake style, so we'll be switching off between myself and Sulman with a little bit of chicanery at the end of the round just to make sure that we're able to pick for our respective teams. So I'll be picking for the 49ers at the end of the draft, despite the little bit of change in order. So we're going to be doing this draft straight up, no trades. I know that's a little bit boring, but I think it would have just been a little bit unwieldy if we started doing trades on the pod. We're going to be, I don't know if we're drafting based on need, best player available, whatever it is, but we're going to try to do our best to guess where these guys end up. We'll talk a little bit about the need, about why we pick this player, what we like about this player, if that's the reason why we're picking them, and just give a little bit of a justification for each pick. So without further ado, you ready to start?
Let's do it.
All right, cool, man. So I'll be going first. So I'll be drafting for the Chicago Bears, and it's a no-brainer pick. Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC. Best player in this draft, maybe. Some people saying Marvin Harrison, but it's just an easy slam dunk pick. You know, this is they got this first overall pick from a trade with the Carolina Panthers. Kind of lucked out into this, and you don't stare a gift. What's the phrase? Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Yeah. So this is the ultimate gift horse for the Bears, and they get a possible generational quarterback that some people are saying is going to break all Bears records, passing records in his rookie season. We'll see about that, but I'm rooting for him.
We'll see.
I don't know. Yeah. So over to you.
All right. So this is where we can start to get a little more interesting because Caleb Williams is absolutely the first pick here. I think for the Commanders, it's obviously QB's a need. I'm going to go with Drake May. I just think he's a slightly better prospect than Jaden McDaniels. But I could see them going either way on this, but I do think, my bad. Yeah, Drake. I think Drake May.
You got NBA basketball on the mind.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the T-Wolves guy. So I just think, he's gonna fit better there in Washington. Drake May. I think he's just he's gonna be ready to start right off the bat. Whereas they're gonna need to develop Jaden a little bit more. And so I think Drake May is the pick here. He's a better fit here on the Commanders. I mean, everything about him looked like his upside is Justin Herbert. You could say his downside is Mitchell Trubisky, possibly. Yep. But definite the upside is there, and I think Drake May makes a lot of sense for the Commanders.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of talk about them maybe getting Jaden Daniels. One of the things was that they signed Marcus Mariota, so they were like, we want another mobile quarterback. I think Drake May is pretty mobile. He's not obviously the runner that Daniels is, but it's weird that how overlooked May has been in this draft process. Like, I feel like people are talking more about JJ McCarthy. But I think part of it is just it's boring to just have a slam dunk. Oh yeah, it's going to be Drake May. It's an easy pick. Like, all right, let's spice things up a bit. Just to fill up the time. So back over to me, the New England Patriots. They are a popular trade target that people are talking about. Them trading down. They have, I believe they signed Jacoby Brissett again, so they have a quarterback in the building.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of hard to pass up Jaden Daniels here. I know as a Raiders fan, I would love for them to be able to go up and get him, but it's got to be Jaden Daniels. He's going to be the most exciting Patriots quarterback ever, the most dynamic Patriots quarterback ever, one of the most dynamic Patriots, period. So really hard to pass him up. And it's a 1-2-3 sweep in terms of quarterbacks for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the order flips between Drake May and Jaden Daniels, but that's about it. But I think 1, 2, 3 is how it's gonna be for sure.
All right, over to you for Arizona.
All right. Yeah, this is a kind of like one of another no-brainer, I think, for the Cardinals, but unless they
Hmm.
decide to trade out of this pick. But I think they have the need. They need Marvin Harrison Jr., probably the best wide receiver out of this class. Some people try to make the argument it might be Malik Nabers, but Marvin Harrison Jr., you can't go wrong. He's gonna it's basically another Larry Fitzgerald handed over to them. That's what's gonna happen here.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's just been boring to go, oh, he's the most dominant receiver in college. He didn't work out, so there's been nothing new to discuss about him. He didn't do any of the drills at the combine or the pro day because he's like, you see my tape, you see who I am, you know who my dad is, I've gotten all the genes from him. So it's just been like a slam dunk pick, and it's boring. So people need something to talk about. So they're nitpicking a little bit. Oh, maybe it's Roma Dunze, maybe it's Malik Nabers, maybe they surprise all of us and get a left tackle. But like you said, this could be Larry Fitzgerald all over again, and they have a quarterback in place, and they need wide receivers. So why not use this opportunity to get the best, potentially the best player, period, in this draft? So next up for me is the Los Angeles Chargers. I know a lot of people have been mocking either Malik Nabers or Rome Odunze to this team because they need wide receivers. They don't really have any talent at wide receiver. But personally, I think as a Jim Harbaugh team, they're going to be a run first, smash mouth, kind of in your face type team. This is a deep wide receiver class. I think they can get a wide receiver in the later rounds or several wide receivers if they want. Offensive line was a major concern for them last year, with Rashawn Slater getting hurt, a couple other guys just not living up to it. So I think they kind of sort of surprise people, and they draft Joe Alt out of Notre Dame, who's, for a lot of people, by consensus, the best offensive lineman in this draft. So I have them not taking a wide receiver and going with a dominant offensive line or offensive lineman to protect Herbert.
Yeah, I think that's the direction they're going with. I don't think they're going to take a wide receiver here, just because it's such a deep wide receiver class, like you said. The other surprise pick that they could make here is Brock Bowers, just because Jim Harbaugh likes to have a good tight end on his team. So I could see him possibly doing that as well. But I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's probably Joe Alt at the pick here.
I've seen Bowers go like top 10 or like 30th or 40th. So he's all over the place. Obviously the best tight end in the class, but there's a lot of speculation
Yep.
around him. So back over to you for the New York Football Giants.
Yeah. So I don't know why everyone wants them to keep taking a quarterback. Maybe that's I don't know. Maybe that's the rumor out there in New York that Daniel Jones is going to be done. I, I I mean they just gave him a big money contract, and yeah, he was hurt last year. But I don't think they're going quarterback here. They're going to give Daniel Jones another chance, and they're going to draft a wide receiver here in Malik Nabers, who's probably the second best wide receiver in this class, and something the Giants haven't had since Odell Beckham Jr. Right, a playmaker at the wide receiver position. So I
Mm-hmm.
think again, pretty obvious choice here for the Giants to go with the playmaker to help Daniel Jones out and that offense out.
Yeah, I've been seeing JJ McCarthy linked to them,
Yeah,
which I is possible. Again, because Daniel Jones again was hurt last year and all the stuff he's underperformed. I think the easier path here is let's give this guy let's draft a potential generational receiver in Malik Nabers. Let's give him another weapon, see what he can do, and then make the decision. And if we suck, we suck, and we'll just be back in this position again. But Daniel Jones did, they were what 9-7 or whatever it was. They did make the playoffs. They won a
yeah.
playoff game, so they're maybe thinking, all right, let's give this guy more weapons and see what we can do. So back over to me for the Tennessee Titans. I think this is another slam dunk pick. They list their needs, as you guys can see: wide receiver, offensive line, edge, DB. So a lot of needs. Obviously, they're drafting top 5, top 6, so they're not a very good team. But I think what they're missing at this point is a complementary weapon to DeAndre Hopkins, and they have a young quarterback, Will Levis. So if they want to see him excel and exceed, they want to give him more weapons. And I think they take the next best weapon on the board after Neighbors, and that's Roma Dunze out of Washington.
Okay. Wow. I'm surprised. They signed Calvin Ridley too. Think they're gonna go 3 wide receiver sets.
Yeah, man. I think they're going to do everything they can to help this guy excel. I know it's tough to go that deep on wide receiver, but I think it just makes sense to like double up on that talent and then see if you can build the offensive line a little bit later. Because I think this is a deep tackle class and it's a deep guard class. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they need to protect the guy too. So yeah, if they don't like the guys that are on the board here, then wide receiver makes sense for sure.
Mhm. All right, over to you.
All right, for the Falcons. Oh man, what an offseason they had. People thought, Kirk Cousins wasn't going to sign there, and then he signs there. So quarterback's off the board here for them. For me, it's coming down to either an edge guy or a cornerback. And that's listed as their needs. But I think I'm gonna go with Dallas Turner here. I think he's probably the best edge guy in the class. I mean, Lateo Latu, he could be a good edge player, but he has a big injury history, medical concerns. So I think he's gonna drop a little bit. But he could have been in this conversation if he was a fully healthy guy. But I think Dallas Turner kind of just shores up the pass rush that the Falcons don't really have and hasn't
Hmm.
existed in many years for them. So hopefully he can be that guy there for them.
Yeah, Latu makes me a little nervous. I think some obviously
Hmm.
Pro Football Focus has him ranked ahead of Turner, but I think just his build makes me a little nervous. He doesn't seem that explosive. Like, is he more of a edge setting D end versus a pass rusher? So yeah, and then the injury history and stuff. So it just makes me nervous. But yeah, back over to me.
Yeah.
The Bears, they have 2 picks in the top 10, so good for them. And their needs again: quarterback, wide receiver, defensive line. The wide receiver thing I feel like is a little overblown. Like, if you can go out and get
Yeah.
a Dunze or Neighbors, then sure. But you got DJ Moore, you got Keenan Allen. You can draft somebody a little later, but you have your 2 starters set at least. So I think they're gonna go with a guy that played in their state, and that's Jerzan or Johnny Newton. He goes by Johnny. Uh, he's Aaron Donald type prospect, where like he's a little slim and undersized for defensive tackle, but he's all about the quickness. And there's a lot of guys like that in this class that are not that heavy or that big, but they're all about the pass rush. So I'm gonna go again with Jerzan. Is it Jerzan? Yeah, something like that. Newton.
Jerzan, yeah. I don't know. Something. Just call him Johnny Newton.
Yeah, he
Sounds
goes
good.
by Johnny. That makes things easier for
No, I
us.
think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of like what the Bears are missing along their defensive line is just that kind of interior kind of guy that can come in and rush. So, and that
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense for them.
All right, over to you for the Jets.
All right. Oh man. Uh I know very popular pick for them has been Brock Bowers, but I think the Jets got to think more long term than short term. Like, yeah, you can get Aaron Rodgers some more weapons, you could do that, but what's your plan in the next like 2-3 years at tackle, right? And I think that's where their mindset should be with this pick because they're not going to get another pick like this unless Aaron Rodgers is hurt again next year. So, might as well kind of take one of the better offensive linemen here. And I'm not even trying to pronounce his first name. I'm just going to call him Olu Fashanu, out of Penn State. He I think he's probably the second best lineman here in this draft. A great tackle and kind of a guy you can, maybe start him off on the right side if they need to, but he's going to be a long-term player for them and a long-term replacement for Ty. Who they signed? Tyrone Smith. Tyrone Smith. Is that who
Yeah,
they
Tyron
signed?
Smith.
Is that who they
Yeah,
signed?
who's probably going to play left tackle
Yeah,
for them. Yeah,
Tyrone
their
Smith. So
their offensive line was
yeah,
atrocious last year. We saw it in the Aaron Rodgers injury. Like the first 3 plays, he's under siege basically. So,
hmm
uh, yeah, it's a no brainer I think for them to go. I mean, Bowers would be nice, but it's more of like a luxury pick. And again, it's like
exactly. Yeah,
if you can't protect your 40-year-old quarterback coming off of ACL or Achilles injury, then none of this other shit matters. Uh, so
exactly. Yeah.
for the Vikings, they kind of luck out because there's a lot of people talking about them trading up to, 4 or 5 or even 2 or 3 to try to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks. They currently have Sam Darnold penciled in as their starting quarterback, and they've talked about, yeah, sure, we can roll with Sam Darnold, but I think with the team that they have, the weapons that they have, I think they want to win now. And I think that means that they're going to go out and draft a quarterback, and that is J.J. McCarthy, who kind of falls into their lap here. What is it? Pick 11.
he's so down here on the PFF board. He's
I
like
know you have to
28.
like, I had to like filter
I
the
had to scroll. I
positions
had to
down to
scroll down to find
quarterback.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
What do you think of? I don't know what you think of him as a prospect. I think there's a lot to like, but I just you don't see it at Michigan. He just wasn't asked to do that much, so that's why I'm like, I don't
yeah.
know about this guy.
I I think Minnesota is probably a good situation for him where they can just start Darnold for a year, let him kind of learn. I think he's gonna be a type of guy that needs to sit. He's not gonna be able to start right away. I think if they start him right away, he's gonna kind of get his confidence killed. And that's gonna like turn him into a Zach Wilson type if they kind of
Hmm.
start him right away, where he just has zero confidence. Maybe he has the abilities, um, but
I just don't think
he's a
I don't
tough one
think teams do that
to. He
anymore.
has the abilities.
Yeah, I just don't think
Yeah,
teams
they
do
don't.
that
Right, that's the
that
problem. So
year. Maybe like I mean, I think with the Raiders and another team that I'm picking, it's just like you want to
yeah,
wait like 6 weeks, 8 weeks at most before you throw
yeah,
this guy in. I think a
yeah,
whole year,
yeah,
you're just
exactly.
it's tough to waste a whole year of that rookie
It's tough to do that.
contract. Yeah.
Exactly.
But
Exactly. Exactly. Because guys are like, and that's the thing with JJ McCarthy, right? Is he ready to do that? I don't know. I don't know, and it's hard to tell, right? So
mhm,
we'll see how it goes. And I think Minnesota's a good spot for him, where it's like maybe a little less pressure because they have a veteran like Darnold there to that can just start for them,
mhm.
and they can see when JJ McCarthy's ready.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think that's probably an ideal spot for him. But I still feel top 15 pick still a little high for him
Yeah, I mean, people reach for quarterbacks all the time, and I think in the next couple picks, there are going to be a
all the
little
time.
bit of that too. But yeah, over to you for the Broncos.
All right. I know Broncos desperately need a quarterback. Um, they're probably a team that probably in the mix here for trading out for JJ McCarthy, right? And we could see that happening. But if the Broncos have to stay put, uh, you know, I think they're gonna take I can't even find him here. Where is he? So far down here. Bo Nix. I think they'll go Bo Nix here at quarterback. If they're staying put, they can't get a trade down or they can't get a trade back to recoup some more assets. I think if they're stuck here at 12, they're going to go Bo Nix because they cannot take a chance of, uh, you know, passing on a quarterback and there's no quarterback in the third round unless they're like really liking Spencer Rattler or someone like that. But I think Bo Nix has to be the pick here for them. Again, not not a top 15 worthy guy. I think he has some skill sets that are admirable. But you put him with Sean Payton, see what Sean Payton can do. He was the
Hmm.
quarterback. He was the coach for Hall of Fame quarterback Drew Brees, right? So if any guy can get something out of Bo Nix, it's probably Sean Payton here. So, but
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
we saw him not do too great with Russell Wilson. So let's see.
Washed up Russell Wilson. Yeah, I
Washed up
honestly,
Russell Wilson for sure.
yeah, I had the same pick. I know they're another team that's been linked to JJ McCarthy. They have a decent quarterback in Jarrett Stidham. I mean, he's okay, I guess. But I just
He's
can't
okay.
see
Yeah.
Sean Payton going into year two without at least some kind of plan at quarterback. I just can't see him. I mean, other than the top five guys, there's just so many questions about the other dudes that yeah, again, it's early. It's probably too early for Bo Nix. It's probably too early for the guy I'm about to pick, but you have to roll the dice and get the quarterback. So over to me for my Raiders. Long list of
There you go.
needs. Not I don't agree with some of the list here. They don't need a running back, not this early. O line,
No,
sure.
no,
Defensive line, no. They spent a ton of money on Christian Wilkins. They
no, not
probably
really.
have,
Yeah.
yeah. Cornerback, sure. Linebacker, yeah, sure. But again, not this early. It's got to be quarterback, man. I'm seeing a lot of mocks where they're picking a tackle. You're gonna have to scroll down. But yeah, that's
There he
my
is. I
guy.
found him. Is this who you want, Colin?
Yes, sir. There's a lot to like about him. He has injury history. He's a little old. I don't care about his age. I think it's a positive. He's only 24, 25, same age as Jaden Daniels, same age as Bo Nix. It just means he's got more games under his belt. He's more experienced. So I'm happy about that. And they're in a similar situation where they can start Gardner Minshew for 4 or 5 weeks, get this kid up to speed, and let's roll. There's a lot to like about him. So I'm not I wish we could get Jaden Daniels, but I'm happy with this pick, I'll say. So
Yeah,
over to
I don't
you.
think it's a bad consolation prize. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad consolation prize, Holland. I think the Raiders should be happy about it.
It'd be nice to get him in the
If
second
that's what happens.
round.
If this is how it falls,
Yeah, it'd be
it would
nice
be nicer to get him in the second round for sure.
but
Yeah,
I don't see that
for
happening.
sure.
I think there's too many other teams that need quarterbacks. I think he'd get snatched up before that. But yeah, over to you for the Saints.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, the Saints definitely. I don't know why QB is listed as a need, but I guess the
I know it's
PFF doesn't like Derek
cold-blooded.
Carr for some reason. um, Cold-blooded. Uh, I think I think the Saints really need a tackle, especially given the issues that they are having with Ryan Ramczyk with his injury concerns. So I'm gonna go with the next tackle on the board here for me, Talisi Fuaga. I hope I said his name right.
Sounds right.
And I think that's that the Saints need a tackle. They need a guy who can come in, start, be a long-term starter for them. Really just shore up that offensive line, and keep Derek Carr upright here. So I think that's the way they go here, and they're going to address these wide receivers and these guys later in the draft for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, their wide receiver room is okay right now. I mean, what's his name? I'm blanking on the kid's name from Ohio State. Not Garrett Wilson. What's his name?
Chris Olave.
Chris Olave. There you go. Rashid Shaheed's out there. Whatever.
Yeah.
They're okay. Tight end's fine. Juwan Johnson is
They're
okay.
Yeah.
Some people were saying, a luxury pick would be Brock Bowers, but with Carr, you definitely need to protect him, and their offensive line was awful. He almost died a couple times last year, so that's got.
Did he like tear his shoulder at some point?
Yeah, man.
Because of the line.
He got body slammed by Bruce Irvin, so I was seriously afraid for his life at a couple points. But yeah, my pick here, the Indianapolis Colts, their needs are listed as at wide receiver and DB. They were like a fringe playoff team last year, but their defense was not very good. It was, bottom of the barrel. So this is a guy who's kind of controversial. People want him to move to safety, but he's listed here as a cornerback, and that's Cooper DeJean. He had an incredible pro day. He ran like a 4.4. He did a lot of great things at the pro day to show that, I'm a better athlete than you might think. And it's just because he's a white guy. And there hasn't been a white cornerback in since Jason Sehorn, I think.
Jason Sehorn?
Yeah.
That's the last one? My goodness.
It's been like 20 years. So there's a lot going against him, but I think he's versatile. He can play safety. He can play cornerback. He's a ball hawk. He's one of the best players, I think, in this draft. He's like maybe like a Kyle Hamilton type that's going to be playing all over the field. And he's bigger than you think. He's faster than you think. So I really like him as a player, and I think he does go here like top 15, obviously to the Colts.
Nice. Yeah, solid pick, Colin. All right, for the Seahawks, I think the Seahawks need a lot of help on that interior part of the line, and so there's a couple of guys they can go here, but the Seahawks don't always have the top guys like everyone else has the top guys. But I do think they will go ahead and draft Graham Barden here, who PFF lists as a tackle, but most people see him as a guard player. Really, really solid player. He's just going to shore up the offensive line. I think the Seahawks are set on both right and left tackle. It's just the interior of the line that they need to fix here. And so with so many options for him here, I think they go Graham Barden out of Duke.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys like that play tackle at the college level, and then they get to the combine and they're like, wait, your arms are a little short, or you're not quite as athletic as we think you are.
Exactly.
So
it's like, yeah,
you don't have 85-inch arms like Trent Williams, so we're gonna play you inside at guard.
Yeah, apparently the cutoff is like 33 and a half. If you have shorter than 33 and a half, you're like, you can't be a tackle in the NFL.
Yeah, I was talking about the general wingspan, like they measure from like tip to tip.
Oh, the wingspan.
But same thing.
Yeah.
Arm length, wingspan, it's all the same thing. But I think wingspan is the better measure because it's, I don't know, I read something the other day. It doesn't matter. But it's a very typical thing. Guys play right tackle.
Talk about it another day.
Yeah, that's another podcast. But yeah, I think he's one of the top players that is not a full-out tackle like some of the other names that you see here. So Jacksonville, that's my pick. Guard, center, edge, DB, a lot of needs on the defense. Maybe wide receiver since they lost Calvin Ridley, but I think there's a lot of the top wide receivers are gone, so they'll have to, maybe settle for somebody a little bit lower down the list. For me, I picked Laiatu Latu. Great name to say. as the edge defender there.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah, I think they just signed Josh Allen to a big extension, and then they get to play Latu on the strong side, which I think is more suited for that. Uh, just because he's not quite as explosive as like a Josh Allen type. He's a little heftier, and I think he's going to be great at like setting the edge. And I like him as a player, but you did bring up some of the injury concerns, and I think that's a good point around him. But I think at this point he's worth snagging there. So over to you for Cincinnati.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Khaled. Like he's probably talent based on talent. He's probably like a top 15 type of guy.
Mhm.
Injury concerns drop him a little bit, and Jacksonville has the luxury of kind of taking a guy like him there. Yeah. So Bengals are on the clock here. I think this is where I will end the slide of Brock Bowers. I'll take him here to the Bengals. Don't have a tight end, and my goodness, can you imagine Joey B with now Brock Bowers, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins? My goodness, that is a scary offense. Yes, they lost Joe Mixon, but that's just another weapon for Joey B there, and that's going to be a scary offense.
Yeah, running back is not a big deal. I mean, they had that kid, I forget his Chase, I think was Chase something. I forgot his last name. Somebody picked him up on
Chase
fantasy.
Brown. Chase Brown.
There you go.
Yeah.
Who did great at the end of last year, against, I think it was the Steelers. He had a crazy game against them. So that's replaceable. This is a pretty good running back class. Nobody really stands out at the top, but I think it's a deeper class. So I would have gone offensive line just because, again, they're the Bengals, and for some reason they can't draft a good offensive lineman at this point, and he just keeps getting.
They signed Trent Brown, didn't they?
Yeah. That's right. They did sign Trent Brown. Let's see if he's in shape. He's one of those guys that's just like, if he's not healthy, it doesn't matter. He just doesn't show up to camp in shape. But yeah, that's I would have gone tackle or guard, but just someone on the offensive line for them. But it makes sense. Give Joey B some weapons and let's roll. The LA Rams. It's kind of crazy to think, but they have a need at defensive lineman. They drafted a good, really good player. He's one of the defensive rookie of the year finalists. I believe Byron Young is his name. Who did really well, but you wonder, did he do really well because of Aaron Donald, or is he actually that good? So this is a need for them. And I think they draft Byron Murphy out of Texas, who is listed as the top interior defensive lineman. The question around him is, was he so good because T'Vondre Sweat was attracting all the attention, or is he just a really good player? So, but I do think he's pretty good, and I think he deserves to be drafted this high.
Yep, I agree with you there, Khaled. That would have been my pick here for the Rams too.
All right, over to you for the Steelers.
Moving on here to the Steelers. They could go wide receiver here. I don't think it's as big of a need as everyone's making it out to be. With they got George Pickens over there. Yes, I know they lost Deontay Johnson, but I think they'll be fine. They can find another guy like that in the second round.
They always do, right?
They always do. They always find someone in some random round, that they have a long legacy of doing that, right? With Hines Ward, Antonio Brown, these type of guys. So they'll be fine. What I will do is I will give them who I think is the better corner is Terrion Arnold over Quinton Mitchell. I think Steelers are always looking to add cornerbacks to the mix. I'm not sure if they still have Patrick Patterson, or did he just sign there recently? I forget.
You keep saying
Patrick Patterson's moved around so much.
This is so funny. You keep saying
Peterson,
basketball players,
not Patterson. Oh my God, I keep giving the NBA guy's name.
Patrick
Peterson.
Yeah. Patrick
Peterson, not Patterson.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. NBA playoffs is on the brain too. So.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Peterson is a safety now, but they drafted Joey Porter Jr.
Okay.
I think in the second round last year. But yeah, corner is a need.
Last year, yep.
I think some people have him picking an offensive tackle, which makes sense. But yeah, I
possibly.
I get the pick. Yep. So with the next episode, the Miami Dolphins, their needs are listed: tight end, offensive line, or defensive interior. They lost some key guys. This is a team that I think underachieved last year. They just got unlucky at the end, hit some injuries, and ended up playing in like a negative 40-degree game that completely nullifies everything that they've done to build their offense. But I do think they know they need to protect Tua. They need to protect his blind side, which as a left-handed quarterback is the right side. So they draft what Pro Football Focus here has as the second, best remaining tackle, and that's Troy Fautanu. So I know he played left tackle at Washington, but with enough coaching, I think he also played right tackle at some point. So just flip flop him over.
Yeah, and there's talk about he could even play guard. So
He
can go anywhere on the line apparently.
Yeah. All right, over to you.
So yeah, I think that's the right pick here. Yeah, I think that's the right pick here for the Dolphins. Got the Eagles up on the clock. I don't know why PFF is so high on Quinton Mitchell, but I think this is probably around the spot I would have him going. Eagles need a cornerback here. They need to get a little bit younger at that position, so I'm gonna have them take Quinton Mitchell here.
Yeah, they were awful last year. Their DBs, Darius Slay was bad.
Yes.
James Bradbury was terrible. I don't even know who played safety for them. They were just terrible. They still had a decent D line, but they had one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. So it makes sense that they get a guy. I like Mitchell. This the small school thing kind of worries me. I don't know. I feel like it might be a little early to take him.
Yeah, and I feel like yeah, and he's like a little bit more raw, right? Because he played at a smaller school, but he has all the athletic traits. He's super fast. I think he ran a sub 4.40, so he's super fast. He's super talented. It's just a matter of getting him into the right situation, right? I think that's going to be key.
Yeah, and playing behind that Eagles D line, I think is going to be great for him. So the Vikings, they have another first round pick. A lot of people are saying that they're going to package these two again, like we said, to trade up to get J.J. McCarthy or one of these top quarterbacks. Very possible. Again, in our draft, they are not going to be doing that, and they need offensive linemen. So I'm surprised you didn't pick this guy for the Eagles because I thought they would want to replace Jason Kelce. But I'm going to be taking the best center on the board. You're going to have to scroll down a little bit, but it's Jackson Powers Johnson. For the Vikings, who I think is going to stabilize their interior offensive line. I think he's going to be a great young player. And again, he's the consensus best center, pure center in the draft. Because there's a lot of guys, it's are you a center? Are you a guard? Are you a right tackle? But this guy is a pure center.
Yeah.
And I think
it's
going to be cool. They're going to draft Bo Nix. They're going to draft his center, and they're going to have, they're going to win the Rose Bowl or whatever. So,
but you had him going JJ McCarthy, so they didn't get Bo Nix.
Oh, that's right. My bad. You had Bo Nix to the Broncos.
So I had Bo Nix on the Broncos. Yeah,
I goofed that. All right. Yeah.
All good. No worries.
All right. Over to you.
All right. Moving on here to the Cowboys. I could see Jerry Jones doing something kind of crazy and just taking some random player from Arkansas or whatever he likes to do. He likes some random school he likes, but I can see Jerry Jones doing that, but I think he will match up need with value here. And if J.C. Latham is still on the board, I think that's the pick here for the Cowboys. Super massive offensive lineman. He can kind of come in, play right tackle, and I think they got their other guys, Ty Smith, right?
Is it Ty or Tyler Smith?
They drafted these.
Yeah, I know. They played him at guard.
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But now he's taking over for Tyrone Smith. So. Yeah,
I think
that's I don't know. It's confusing. T Smith. They're both T Smith.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think J.C. Latham will come in, kind of stabilize that line for the Cowboys, and hopefully Jerry Jones doesn't overthink this and does something random like he always has a tendency to do.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully they stay on the board here and go with the best player they need.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but they probably draft better than just about anybody else in the NFL. They have a couple misses here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about the Taco Charlton
couple
over
misses,
J.J. Watt or T.J. Watt, sorry. But for the most part, they drafted Micah Parsons early, I think earlier than people thought, despite his issues. They draft really well, and it's annoying to say, but it makes sense for that pick.
I think when they don't listen to Jerry Jones, they do really well. I think when Jerry Jones kind of inputs, hey, I want this guy, right? And then it's kind of messes up the draft for them. Otherwise, they're pretty good at drafting.
Yeah, he's probably the guy that picked Zeke Elliott 4th overall. So he's an old school guy.
He did, for sure.
All right, the Packers. So list their needs at O-line, defense or defensive interior, and safety, which I thought was interesting because they just gave Xavier McKinney a bunch of money Not I forget who's lining up next to him, but yeah, they spent a lot of money on that position, so I don't see them spending a first round pick on it. I think what they will do is they know they have a special quarterback. They have a ton of weapons around him, so now they're just going to work on keeping him upright. And I think they're going to draft again the best remaining tackle on the board, and that is Amarius, however you say that, Mims out of Georgia.
He's a super raw guy, Khaled. He looks like he could be like the next Trent Brown. Trent Brown.
Brown and
Yeah,
Trent
Brown.
Williams.
He looks like Trent Brownish. He's super big. Trent Brown, not Trent
Okay.
Williams. Not Trent Williams. Trent Brown. I'll say Trent Brown. Trent Williams is too high of a comparison for him. But he's
Yeah.
super raw. He's super big. I think Trent Brown is probably the better comp for him. But who knows? Maybe it could be Trent Williams. I don't know. But Trent Brown is probably more comparable comp for him.
All right. Who you got for Tampa?
Yeah, for Tampa, this kind of, I'm surprised we still have Jared Verse here on the board, but this is just value meets need here. They're going Jared Verse, and he's just the player they need. They need an edge guy. They lost Shaquille Barrett, I believe, to the Panthers. Was it the Panthers who signed him? I forget who exactly signed him, but definitely a need here for the Bucks. And so Jared Verse, best kind of edge player left here on the board, and that's who I have him taken.
Yeah, they have a lot of needs. They still won their division last year. There's an awful division. They were not a good team. They're slightly above average, but yeah, a lot of needs there. And he makes sense. I think he'd pair well with I think Shoyinka is the other dude's name, and just to rebuild that pass rush. The Arizona Cardinals. So they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. So they have their elite wide receiver, and now I think they're going to draft a potentially elite corner. I was torn between either Kool-Aid or Nate Wiggins. My concern, don't click just yet. My concern about Wiggins is that, I mean,
I'm not cooking.
He's super fast. I think he ran like a 4.28. He's really small. I think he's like 175 pounds, which is, I know,
really
is not
small.
a huge deal for corners.
He's super light.
Yeah.
He's super light.
But I think they're going to go with Kool-Aid, who's a little bit heftier, but not by much. And I think he's still just as athletic. So, pair him with Marvin Harrison, and they can go to battle in practice.
I like it. Yeah. I think I like Kool-Aid better than Nate Wiggins, so good pick, Colin. All right. Well, I'll turn it over here to the Bills. Clearly need a wide receiver here after trading Stephon Diggs. That's probably their biggest need. Depends who you ask. Some people like A.D. Mitchell here, or some people like Brian Thomas Jr. I'm a little bit bigger on Brian Thomas Jr., and that's what I'm giving the Bills. Just, I like his size, his speed. He's a burner at that. He's like 6'3", like 220, but he's a burner. So I kind of like that kind of receiver for the Bills, and that's something they've been missing on that end. They had a kind of more possession type receiver with Diggs, but they've been missing a burner. So I think that he'll play really well with Josh Allen.
Which I think that kind of surprises me, because I want to say Adonai Mitchell ran like the fastest 40 at the combine. So you don't think, is he like a one trick type pony? Is that your issue with him?
I feel like Brian Thomas is a Blazer, but he can also be a number one option, where I feel like A.D. Mitchell is more of a complimentary wide receiver 2 type. I think he's just kind of like a straight line guy, right? Like you didn't see that route tree from him. Whereas Brian Thomas, he can do a little bit more. That's what I feel.
Right, that's fair. Yeah, and they have a wide receiver 2 in Curtis Samuel, or wide receiver 3, whatever. And that's really about it. I think they have Mac Hollins, whatever. But
yeah, I think they're going to draft another wide receiver later in the draft too, for sure.
Yeah, and then probably some defensive linemen to get that pass rush going. Yeah, so I have the Detroit Lions, so this is where I'm going to double up, just so Sulman can draft for the 49ers. So the Detroit Lions, I don't know if they have many needs. I mean, they talk here about guard, center. Sure, you always need offensive linemen. Edge, they have Aiden Hutchinson on the other side. I think their defense line was pretty good. And then cornerback, the Jeff Okudah pick didn't work out. So I'm tempted to take Nate Wiggins, but I think instead I'm going to take an offensive lineman, and that is Zach Frazier out of West Virginia. He's a versatile guy. He's listed as a center, but just like most of these guys, can play across those 3 positions. And they know they got to keep Jared Goff upright, because he's not the he's not the most athletic quarterback, so you got to keep him upright and let him find those weapons. So Zach Frazier is the pick for me. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think long term he can probably take over for Frank Ragnow, who's been banged up quite a bit the last few years. So they definitely need someone like this who can play guard and then step into center as well if needed.
Yeah, I think Ragnow was out against the Niners in that the NFC title game. So
he was banged up. He was banged up.
All right, so back to me and the Baltimore Ravens. This is a tough one. They could go a lot of ways. I mean, the offensive line is always good. They have always find these guys in later rounds, and they do pretty well there. They did lose Jadeveon Clowney, who was one of the best players on defense, surprisingly, last year. But again, they just seem to find these guys value signings, things like that. But the one thing they have really not been able to do is find a truly dominant wide receiver for Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to roll the dice here. I talked about A.D. Mitchell going to Buffalo. I think he goes here. He's got that crazy 4.3 speed, going to tear the top off defense. I think he's going to be basically what they were trying to do with Hollywood Brown, but basically, hopefully he doesn't have the same drop issues. So yeah, A.D. Mitchell for me.
Yeah, I like it. And the thing about A.D. Mitchell reminds me a little bit of DK Metcalf because he's kind of like a bigger guy, blazer, straight line speed. But DK Metcalf then started adding some more routes to his repertoire. So if A.D. Mitchell could do that, he could be a good receiver for sure.
All right. And now you go back to back.
All right. Let's I'll go back to back here to close this out here. Oh man, I thought I'd get one of those tackles that went a little earlier, like maybe Mims or Latham, but both were off the board here for the Niners. It's definitely a need for them, tackle, but I don't think they're the type of team that's going to reach for a tackle. Like, I don't think Guyton is a guy that fits in their system, so they're not going to go get Guyton. I think they would consider Jordan Morgan, who might be a little better fit, could maybe start at right guard, take over for Mekovitz later at right tackle. But I think they could also surprise some people and focus on the defensive side of the ball here, and maybe possibly take an edge rusher.
Really?
Because they always seem to be chasing an. Yeah, I think they could do it. I think they were gonna like Chop Robinson a lot. Am I gonna do that? No, I'm gonna be a little safer. I'm gonna take Jordan Morgan, but I do think they'd have a tough decision to make if Chop Robinson was on the board there for them at this point. And they would. I think they would. It's possible you could see them take an edge rusher, even though they signed Leonard Floyd. They have Nick Bosa. They're just always trying to stack that line. Is what the Niners kind of philosophy
it works for them.
We could see that happening.
You guys did also lose Eric Armstead. You lost Chase Young, who was kind of a mixed bag, but he was only on the team for a little bit anyway. Yeah, they keep looking for that secondary pass rusher to Bosa, and they signed a bunch of guys. Was Cleveland Farrell? They traded for Chase Young. Nobody's really flashed, so I get it, but I think they're probably also like, hey, Trent Williams is 37, so we need a
exactly yeah. So I think that's the thought, right? You're gonna have to take a guy,
a swing tackle or a guy that can play right.
That's why I went with Jordan Morgan.
Sense.
I was like,
it's a need pick. It's kind of boring, but we saw what they looked like without Trent Williams last year, so it makes sense. All right.
Exactly. It was not good. So we'll close out here, Khaled, with the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of options here for them on the board. They could go in the wide receiver direction. I think they're pretty happy with what they have there actually with Hollywood Brown, but maybe TBD with Rashee Rice get into some legal trouble.
He's going to miss some time. We just don't know
so
how
maybe
much
they
time.
Want to add a guy in case. Yeah, we don't know how long. So I'm definitely considering wide receiver here for them. Nate Wiggins is another great value pick here on the board for them. So maybe they go cornerback to replace L'Jarius Sneed. To me, it's coming down to Ladd McConkey and Nate Wiggins is what I see as the two options here. But I'm gonna go Nate Wiggins just because they lost Sneed. There's a need there, maybe a little bit bigger hole. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna end the draft here with Nate Wiggins. Don't let him slide into the second round. And
right, hit that X.
Pick here for the Chiefs.
Grades we got. Do they give you grades? Oh man.
They don't grade
Oh,
us
that's
because we're
whack.
not subscribed.
There, yeah,
No.
you gotta
Yeah,
pay them money for that. But
that's whack.
yeah, I think
Yeah, you got to pay like $100
yeah,
a
maybe
year for it.
if I was a credentialed football writer or something. But yeah, the Nate Wiggins pick makes sense. McConkey is crazy. I mean, it's just like all these super athletic white dudes coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, man, he's so good. Like I was considering him even at 28 to Buffalo. Um, so we'll see. He'll probably he's somewhere in the mix here in the late first,
Yeah,
early second is where he'll go.
yeah, and
I
you
think
know
he'll
they
have a
would
good
love a
career for
white
sure.
wide receiver in Kansas City and in Buffalo. So, but yeah, I think they're like
Yeah,
we won the Super Bowl
that's
with
true.
trash at wide receiver, so we can let's focus on the defense. Let's protect Patrick Mahomes, and then we'll let him figure out the rest. So this was fun, man. This is a little different. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to hit that
Yeah,
subscribe button, the follow button, the whatever, wherever you're listening or watching this podcast. Make sure you leave us a review, leave us a comment, and let us know what you think. And appreciate you, man. Thanks, Sulman.
peace.